everybody. It's Dave and Darren over there. We're your two old bloggers, been blogging publicly, commenting publicly, in blog form, that is, writing, for over 2.5 decades apiece. Has it changed us? Nah. We went to video, but that's it. I see Tyler's joined us. All right, Tyler. You're going to love this show, Tyler. Absolutely love it. The Minnesota Vikings this season started out with the kind of electricity that makes U.S. Bank Stadium feel like the center of the football universe. 14 wins the year before, a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal, a superstar wideout in his prime, and an aggressive offseason splash that made everyone from Vegas to Vikings Twitter project playoffs and deep runs. 5 months later, the electricity's gone, replaced by the dull hum of fluorescent lights. You can hear them now. Bzz. In an empty locker room. A 26-0 shutout in Seattle. The first time Minnesota has been blank since 2007. Wasn't just a loss. It was the moment the season flatlined. 4 straight defeats. 6 losses in the 7 games, a 4-8 record that has turned championship talk into conversations about top 5 picks in the 2026 draft. What began as how far can this team go has become how did everything go so wrong so fast? Fans are furious, and rightfully so. The offensive line can't block. The high-priced free agents look lost. Penalties pile up like snowdrifts. And when anything goes wrong, the team collapses like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. But beneath all the noise, one truth cuts clearer than a Fran Tarkenton scramble. This season isn't dying because of play calling or special teams or even free agents. It's dying because of the quarterback position. The one spot you cannot hide in the NFL has been an unmitigated disaster. Until it gets fixed, nothing else matters. Welcome to two old bloggers and the autopsy of the lost Vikings season. Rock! Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers. And there he is, Darren. How are things in the Great White North?
Cold, Dave. Almost minus 26 Fahrenheit here right now this morning. So
that is a bit chilly. I do notice when I look at the weather map and scroll up there, it's purple, and purple for cold is cold. Anyways, we got 3 themes as usual, only they're quite extensive. Darren was on his high horse writing the notes. Hopefully the graphics will suffice, and we will see what has gone wrong as we autopsy this 2025 season. And is there anything that could be salvaged? We'll find out. With theme 1. And 26-0.
I feel like, Dave, after that intro, there's the show's over. not much more I need to say. But hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this morning, or I guess this afternoon in a few places. It just, but yeah, 26-0. The first theme is gonna talk a few musings about a lost season, is kind of how I put it in my mind anyway. And after last
the title of the episode came from.
Yes, last week, the beatdown in Seattle, it's upset a lot of people, Dave. And I understand that.
Thanks to
26-0, you're get shut out for the first time since 2007. It wasn't fun to watch. It's embarrassing, even as a fan, and that's got a lot of people coming up with trying to figure out what has happened to this team. Like you said in the intro, you got a team that the Vikings fans had championship aspirations for this team, and now we're at the point with 12 games in where we're wondering if the Vikings are going to get a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, or maybe even a top 5 pick in the draft. That is where we're at with this season, and it is not where we wanted to be at with it. And with that, you've got fans, media, they start trying to figure out, trying to come up with reasons and find out reasons for why the Vikings are 4-8 at this point and heading towards possibly 4-13 this season. And I've heard lots of complaints. It's like the Vikings offensive line, both the guys that they brought in and the two guys that they already had on the roster, they haven't run pass or run blocked effectively enough. The running game hasn't been effective enough, and KOC doesn't commit to the run enough. KOC's play calling sucks. That's another complaint I've heard. The free agents we brought in this year suck. Special teams coach Matt Daniels sucks. This team is undisciplined and takes too many penalties. They can't create turnovers, and they commit turnovers like it's going out of style. Like you mentioned in the intro, if one bad thing happens in a game, the team seems to implode and the game's over. And oh yes, the quarterback play has been terrible. I've probably missed some of the reasons and complaints that people have had for why this season has gone downhill.
There's plenty more. Yeah,
there's plenty more. Those are the ones the ones I've seen the most, that I've heard the most, and some of them are even that I've listed off are even sort of true. But make no mistake, everybody, that the reason the Vikings are where they're at is because of the quarterback play.
There's one of them. Yeah, quarterback play.
Quarterback play. Like when you have quarterbacks who make completing a pass seem like a huge accomplishment, you can't win in the NFL. You can't move the ball, and you can't score points. And if you can't score points, you can't win in the NFL. Very simple. We talk about all these other things over and over and over, but it comes down to the quarterback play, and the quarterback play has been awful. I'm sure. Yes, have the Vikings, particularly early in the season, did they take too many penalties? Absolutely. But if the Vikings had gotten the kind of quarterback play that, say, Seattle has gotten from Sam Darnold, or even Chicago has gotten from Caleb Williams, would all those penalties have been like the tipping point in us losing most of those 8 games? I don't think so. Not if you're getting quality quarterback play. And Kevin O'Connell's play calling would probably look a whole lot better if he didn't have quarterbacks who sailed passes 5 feet over our receiver's head half the time. And when they weren't doing that, we're either getting sacked or throwing 3 or 4 picks per game. So quarterback. and until that gets fixed, and it's probably not going to get fixed this year, until that gets fixed and Kevin O'Connell finds a fix for it, all these other things we're talking about are kind of not even really worth worrying about, I think. We discussed them, but they're not the main reason that the Vikings are terrible this year. Got that off my chest. While we're talking about Kevin O'Connell, I think that because of the way the Vikings have played this year, their record, what we expected from them, and how things have turned out, it's got a lot of the fans wanting to fire him and get rid of him now or at the end of the season. And That same goes for general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I can understand the disappointment and the outrage and the need for the Vikings to do something to try to fix it and burn everything to the ground and fire everybody, and particularly when it comes to your head coach and the general manager. But it's not something I can get on board with, at least at this point. And yes, Kevin O'Connell this season has not gone the way we expected, and I think when you're in your fourth season, Dave, as a head coach, inevitably fans they find things to complain about and be upset about how you coach and how the team that you coach performs, and play calling, clock management, all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying some of those things aren't valid and don't bug me at times, but Kevin O'Connell still has been a head coach who got a 13-win season out of this team in 2022 and won a division. He got a 14-win season out of the Vikings last year. It's true, he was coach of the year last year. Now, he has not had a playoff win in almost 4 seasons in the NFL, and he's not going to get a chance to improve that this season. But I don't think this year that he suddenly forgot how to coach. I think what this year proves is that he doesn't have some magic formula to make a quarterback good if the quarterback isn't good. And what it's shown is that if you don't get good quarterback play, Kevin O'Connell's teams are going to struggle, which I think makes him the same as every other head coach in NFL history. You need some good quarterback play to have a team that's going to be a playoff team and a factor in the playoffs. So the thoughts to fire him, this season, I'm not on board with that. I feel that I'd like to see him. I want to see him come back next year and try to solve this. And then next year in 2026, if the Vikings are still struggling at quarterback, they're not getting good quarterback play, if the team is bad and has another losing season and is out of the playoffs again, then I think, yes, there's a more serious conversation to have about Kevin O'Connell, if he's the right guy to be the head coach at that point in time, depending on the circumstances and how bad the year is. And I think if that happens, the Wilfs will also have that conversation, and we might be looking at a new head coach. But I don't want to see it happen after this season, no matter how bad it ends up being, and I don't think it is going to happen this season. General manager wise, I feel like there's it's getting a little bit harder to defend keeping Kwesi Adofo-Mensah as general manager compared to Kevin O'Connell. That's just kind of the vibe I get from interacting with Vikings fans, and a lot of that probably has to come down to people focus on the drafting record of him, which has been very bad. But again, I think the same thing here with Kevin O'Connell applies to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah in my mind, is that I don't think it's the right move right now. Would be the right move to can him. And well, with Kevin O'Connell last year, Dave, which I forgot to mention, is that I feel like I don't have any stats to back this up, but I feel like last year, the majority of Viking fans were quite happy with the job he did, and they felt that he was the right guy for the Vikings. Now, not everybody did, and there's people on this chat who have said that they're not KOC guys, but I think in the majority, they were happy with the job he did. And so if you're happy last year, why aren't you? I understand the record disappoints you, but you still, if you thought he was a good coach last year, I feel like you still should have some faith in him being a good coach now. With Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, when I look at, I think people they don't like his drafting record. Now they're talking about pointing out that his free agent haul this year was not as successful as it was last year. But I feel like the roster building plan that he and the Vikings put in place was sound this year. And you might notice that the New England Patriots have won 10 straight games and have the best record in the NFL right now, Dave. And they don't have a general manager. Elliot Wolf is their senior vice president of player personnel. He's basically the de facto general manager for the Patriots since Bill Belichick left. But Wolf used the same roster building strategy as the Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and the Vikings did last offseason. They had a young second-year quarterback on a rookie deal, and they spent a boatload of money on free agents to strengthen the roster. They actually spent roughly $124 million on free agents last year. That was most in the NFL. The Vikings were second at around $118 million, but they had the Drake May on a rookie deal, and they brought in a bunch of free agents, Stephon Diggs, Carlton Davis, even Garrett Bradbury, Robert Spillane. There's a few others I'm missing, but they brought in those guys to support a rookie quarterback that they were putting in as the starting quarterback this year. And there could be an argument made that one of the reasons the Patriots are 11-2 and we're 4-8 is because those free agents have played better than our free agents have. Okay, sure. But again, the main reason the New England Patriots are 11-2 right now and have the best record in the NFL is because their second-year quarterback is playing at an MVP level, and our second-year quarterback is playing like he should be back at Michigan. So again,
he was better at Michigan.
He was better at Michigan. Drew would tell us the same thing. But now, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell, they're the ones that pulled the trigger on deciding to turn the starting quarterback job over to J.J. McCarthy, and they will have to be held accountable for that, considering it's turned out as badly as it has so far. But again, I think they did a good job in building this roster and coaching in the past 3 years. I think that they deserve the chance to, in this offseason, to problem solve and, construct the roster in a way where the Vikings recover in 2026 and are playoff contenders and contending for a divisional title, playoff spot, and a Super Bowl championship in 2026. That's my feeling. If you want to burn things to the ground, go right ahead. But I don't think that's the right the right strategy at this point in time for the Vikings. Third and final theme, at least of my musings on the season, Dave, is I want to talk about Justin Jefferson. I don't want to talk about Justin Jefferson not speaking to the reporters after the Seattle game. He's addressed that. There's been enough talk on that. But I do want to talk about his production this year and what that might mean in the future. Last week against Seattle, 2 catches, 4 yards. That is terrible, clearly. Not the kind of production you'd expect from a guy like Justin Jefferson. But again, this is all tied to quarterback play the whole season. Justin Jefferson, his production is not, he's going to have the worst season he's ever had as being fully healthy in the NFL, the way things are going right now. And it's not because he's lost anything. It's not because he's not getting open. It's not because he's still not a great wide receiver. If you watch the replays during games, if you have access to all 22 tape, you can see he's open all the time. Just like he was in 2024 and 2023 and 2022 and 2021. But he doesn't have a quarterback who can get him the ball. And whether it's due to, misreads, non-reads, getting sacked, holding on to the ball too long, all of those things, he's not established a connection with J.J. McCarthy at all. And I don't know if he's going to get to establish one this year. But this is kind of a worst case scenario that I'm going to talk about right now, Dave. But let's say in 2026 the Vikings quarterback play does not improve. It's still close to as bad as it is now. In that case, Justin Jefferson's production probably is going to be quite similar next year as it is this year. And that's a problem because Justin Jefferson, in the next 3 seasons, his salaries are $24.9 million in 2026, $29.2 million in 2027, and then $33.2 million in 2028. And his salary cap hits are even higher than that. That's a lot of cash to have tied up into an asset that you aren't using and cannot use because of your quarterback play. It's kind of like buying like a high-end $700,000 Lamborghini and you keep it in the garage all the time. You don't use it. The Vikings, if quarterback play does not improve in 2026, Dave, they're going to have a tough decision on their hands with Jefferson in that you can't have that much salary cap space and salary being devoted to a guy that you can't use. So they're going to have to maybe consider, do we trade Justin Jefferson while his value is high, so that we can get draft assets that put us in a position where we can potentially get a quarterback in the draft, or trade for one who can run a competent NFL offense and get the ball to whatever receivers you do have. And maybe that draft capital you get from the Jefferson trade also allows you to draft a potential successor to Justin Jefferson, although likely that player isn't going to be as good as Justin Jefferson. But again, worst case scenario there, but if the quarterback play does not improve over the next 12 months, the Vikings could be facing that terrible decision at some point in time, because again, you can't have that much money devoted to a guy that you cannot use. So yeah, there's some, I would say, depressing musings on the Vikings last season.
Yes. Drew and I were talking in the pre-show how during training camp we got reports of how well J.J. McCarthy looked. He had his bad days, but it'd get down to the 2-minute warning and he'd freaking light it up. In the joint practices, regular practices, he'd connect. You had Matthew Collar, Judd Zolgad, all those guys reporting. He just looks fantastic. Mm-hmm. We had the first game against the Bears. First few quarters look like absolute dog doo-doo. And then he lights it up in the fourth quarter. And then after that, it's gone downhill. And I'm trying to think, wait a minute. I watched some of the tape at him in Michigan, and he wasn't messing up like this at Michigan. So what's changed? Obviously, coaches, what they're feeding in his ears. With KOC saying, no, I just want him to go out there and play. Well, I'm wondering if there are too many people in his ears. Mainly this guy, Josh McCown. Josh McCown is our QB coach. He was hired last year to be our QB coach. And I think he screwed things up. And people will go, but Dave, you had Sam Darnold had his best season. We went 14-3. I agree. But Josh McCown, his first season as a quarterbacks coach was with Bryce Young. Bryce Young looks like JJ does. He looks horrible. Absolutely horrible in his first year. And the Panthers are wondering, oh my God, did we get the wrong QB? Well, Josh McCown got fired along with the head coach, Frank Reich, in November of 2023. He was hired in February 2023. He gets fired because the team was 1-10. Was Bryce Young, was McCown responsible for his poor play? I would say yes. Why? Because whose plays improved since he's gone? Bryce Young. Now, but people say, well, Sam Darnold, he was here last year, but we also had Grant Udinski. Grant Udinski now is with the Jaguars as the notional OC. Jaguars are in the playoffs. They are right now first seed in their division. Now, could it be KOC's talking too much to JJ and McCown's talking too much? JJ trying to be a people person, please both, getting overtaxed and everything going absolutely wrong, crosswires? Could be. Or does KOC have a communication issue, which we all know, we hear his press conferences and know he can go blah, 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 and not say a damn thing, which is fine for a head coach. But Udinski was the one that translated it for Sam Darnold to improve. Now, Sam Darnold also had history with other guys too, so I'm not saying it's all on that. But when you follow a trail of there was failure here and now there's failure here, and it comes down to one guy, I'm thinking, possible. It's just a thought. But you're right. This season's gone horribly. Why? Because 3 quarterbacks look like they're apoplectic. And it's
big words, Dave.
It's not good. But
it is not.
Who gets fired after this season? I hope a bunch of people do. But I suggest, and I want to say, who was it? Too Evil, I think it was, talking about the position coaches. And yes, without a doubt, I agree. So take a deep breath.
Yes.
And now we move on to theme 2. This week in Vikings land.
Well, we're going to start off with JJ McCarthy.
More quarterback.
More quarterback, yeah, because he's out of concussion protocol now. He's going to be starting tomorrow against Washington, and that's going to be our latest chance to see McCarthy after 2 injuries now, where he's had to miss games. It's going to be our latest chance to see if there's any sign that McCarthy is a viable option as a starter in the future for the Vikings. We're going to get some more data to chew on about that. And during McCarthy's 2 injuries, the high ankle sprain, which cost him 5 or 6 games, and then the concussion, which cost him 1. You know, Kevin O'Connell's been asked, and he's talked a lot about the mechanics and the fundamental issues that he's trying to correct with JJ McCarthy, and that may be impacting McCarthy's play on the field. Well, this week he took a different tact, and he basically said, throw out the mechanics stuff. I just want JJ to go out there and play, make good decisions, and we'll worry about the mechanic stuff at the end of the season. And I really think that this is the right way to handle JJ McCarthy right now. Like you said at the beginning, Dave, and we're just saying just there, I think McCarthy does not need right now to be like, when he's out there worrying about, okay, what angle does my arm have to be when I'm releasing the ball? Like, how wide is my base? Like, am I over rotating too much? Where are my fingers on the football? All that sort of stuff. Just worry about trying to read the defense correctly, find an open guy, and get it to him the best way you know how. And do I think that allowing JJ McCarthy to have, play with more of a clear mind and not have so many things swimming in his head on, fundamental stuff or mechanical stuff, do I think it's going to make a difference in how he plays tomorrow? I've heard a lot of stuff about the Vikings from the Vikings coaches' mouths this year about what they're trying to do to repair JJ McCarthy. So I'm not optimistic tomorrow we're going to see a significantly different JJ McCarthy than we have, but they got to try something, because what Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown have been doing with JJ McCarthy up to this point is not working. So let's try this. Let's have him go out there with a clear mind, use his athletic ability and his instincts, and see if that leads to better results. I think that's the way to go with McCarthy right now. And it probably is a few weeks too late for Kevin O'Connell to have done this based on what we have seen. But let's see how it goes tomorrow with this different philosophy on how JJ McCarthy needs to play.
I agree wholeheartedly. I want to respond to T-Bass. who said, who has the most input on hiring assistant coaches? I would say it's Kevin O'Connell. And T-Bass, you are probably 100% correct. And I think he's had, just like most of the NFL, they hire their friends first, friends and family, and then go on from there. Is it the smart choice? It rarely is. But I just wanted to say I agree with you, T-Bass.
T-Bass, very, very active in the chat today, as always, and we like that. So from JJ McCarthy, want to talk about something a little bit more positive, and Eric Wilson, who has been a very nice surprise for the Vikings this year, one of the few that we've had. He, just going to throw up a few stats here for Eric Wilson, how he's played this year. He's second on the team with 4.5 sacks right now. He is first on the team in tackles for losses, has 14 of them. He is tied for fourth in quarterback hits. He's got 6 of those. He's forced 3 fumbles, according to Pro Football Reference. That's leads the team. He's also leads the team in solo tackles and total tackles. Like, if you go and look on Pro Football Focus, don't pay attention to the mediocre grade they've got on Eric Wilson right now. This guy is making plays when he's out there, game after game after game, noticeable impact plays for the Vikings. And he's doing this all on a 1-year deal. He is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. And we know the Vikings need somebody to start opposite of Blake Cashman at inside linebacker in 2026. So with the way Wilson's playing this entire season, should the Vikings be looking at signing him to an extension that with his play on the field, he deserves? Well, as Lee Corso used to say, not so fast, my friend. And the big issue with Wilson, of course, is that he is 31 years old right now. He's going to turn 32 in late September of 2026. So this year, as great as he's been playing, this really feels like a career year for Eric Wilson that he will not be able to replicate. And he's also at an age where you'd expect his play to decline fairly significantly over the next year or two. And that is why, as much as the Vikings need a quality starter next to Blake Cashman next year, who will also be 30 when the season starts next year and is not young himself, I don't think that I would be signing Eric Wilson to any significant extension next year to be that starter because of his age and the fact that I think that as much as I like him, I've liked him ever since he made the Vikings in 2017 as an undrafted rookie free agent out of Cincinnati. I've always liked Eric Wilson, but I don't think that he can replicate what he's done next year. And I would be looking for somebody younger with more upside to start opposite of Blake Cashman rather than signing Eric Wilson to an extension based off a career year that I don't think he's going to be able to duplicate.
I agree. And I think inside linebacker will be a target in the draft. And if Tyler's still watching, I look forward to those breakdowns, Tyler.
Mm-hmm. SKOL search, baby. Probably going to be starting pretty early here.
We're already, pardon me. Already planning on it.
Mm-hmm. That's Eric Wilson. Want to just talk quickly on Adam Thielen, who got released on Monday. His agent asked for the Vikings to release him because they weren't playing him, and the Vikings agreed, which I think was the right move. Ends up signing with Pittsburgh. We'll see how it goes there. The Vikings made this trade, and you and I, Dave, were in agreement with it at the time because they weren't sure if Jalen Naylor was going to be able to play because he had a hand injury, and they knew that Jordan Addison was not going to be able to play for the first 3 games because he was suspended. So they weren't happy with they were worried about their wide receiver depth, and they traded for Thielen to strengthen that. Made sense at the time, but he never was able to establish a role in the Vikings offense at all. And by the end, he was barely playing. Ends up with 8 catches for 69 yards. I think he dropped as many passes as he caught this year when he was out there. So not a great deal. This did not work out very well, and it reminds me of another trade the Vikings made a while back to bring back a prodigal son wide receiver that also did not work out very well, which was when they traded for this guy, Randy Moss, in 2010, gave up a third rounder to New England to get him back to Minnesota. He lasted 4 games with the Vikings. He caught 13 passes for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns in those 4 games. And then Brad Childress waived him because he thought Randy Moss was a locker room cancer.
Mm-hmm. I remember those years well. I was hot and heavy in Aloof's locker room at the time. Mm-hmm. I was reporting on all of it.
Of course, we also know the Wilfs were not happy that Childress released and cut.
No, they weren't.
And not telling them beforehand, but which probably played a role in Chili getting fired a few weeks later. But why am I bringing this up? Just hopefully the Vikings have learned a lesson here about trading during the season for a former Viking player whose best days are behind him. Maybe don't do that again, even if us fans are in agreement with it at the time. And the Wilfs have been around for both of these trades, so they must. I hope that they've learned their lesson here and don't do this again.
Well, from a public affairs move, it was a very brilliant one because they got more excitement and more jersey sales and the whole works. They sold more merch. Mm-hmm. It made sense, and we were hoping it would be better than the Randy Moss one. But the Randy Moss one wasn't the problem of Randy Moss. It was the problem of Brad Childress. This one is, Thielen looks like he's going to need to retire after this year.
Yeah. Final subject, Dave, is talk about quarterbacks. It's been the dominant topic of conversation on our show for several months and during the season, and probably every other Vikings content creator, excuse me as I burp on air, the quarterback play. That quarterback play has been a dominant topic of conversation for any Viking who's got a blog, podcast, whatever, including us. It got to me thinking about just taking a look at the Vikings quarterback stats, and it got me wondering about this year. The Vikings quarterbacks, all 3 of them, have completed 60.2% of their passes. They have thrown 12 touchdowns. Actually, they've thrown 11 because Cam Akers threw one of those 12. So they've thrown 11 touchdown passes and been intercepted 19 times. And those Vikings quarterbacks are also averaging 173.2 yards per game passing. So it got me wondering, those are pretty terrible.
Pathetic.
Yeah, those are pathetic stats. It got me wondering, when was the last time Vikings quarterbacks have had a sub 60% completion percentage, which the Vikings are trending towards, because that 60.2 has been puffed up because of Carson Wentz's play, and he's not going to play anymore. But when was the last time they had a sub 60% completion percentage? They threw more interceptions than touchdown passes and also had sub 200 passing yards per game average. So I looked up Pro Football Reference, did a little bit of research, and the last time we did it was 2007, Dave. Get a load of these numbers. That year, Tarvaris Jackson, Kelly Holcomb, and Brooks Bollinger combined they completed 57.6% of their passes. They had a passing game average of 171.6. That's passing yards per game average. And they threw 12 TDs and 14 interceptions. That is awful, and even arguably worse than what the Vikings are getting this year. And somehow the Vikings were 8-8 that year and were actually in a wild card playoff contention until the final game of the season when they lost to Denver, I believe. But that year also was the rookie year with Adrian Peterson, with Chester Taylor riding shotgun, and they had Steve Hutchinson, a Hall of Famer, blocking for them. They had Matt Burke blocking for them at center. They had Bryant McKinney at left tackle, Anthony Herrero, who was a damn good right guard. They also had Ryan Cook, who was no good at right tackle. But the Vikings don't.
Speaking of UNM Lobos,
yeah,
we were talking about that in the pre-show.
The Vikings don't have those guys this year, so those are pretty bad stats. But if you're wondering, that's the last time we've had quarterback play that poor. But during my research, David, also it reminded me just how bad the Vikings quarterback play was from 2005 until 2018 when we signed Kirk Cousins, because there's a lot of years where the Vikings were close to those stats I just mentioned this year and in 2007, like 2006, 2008, 2010, 2011, and 2013 were all close to those numbers. And we with Kirk Cousins and then Sam Darnold for 1 year, we Vikings fans kind of got insulated from that kind of poor quarterback play, but it used to be very common.
Even Teddy did better.
Yeah, even Teddy did better, but that kind of quarterback play, which you can't win with, used to be very, very common for the Vikings, and sadly, it seems like we're back there again. So,
Tarvaris Jackson.
Yeah, and he was
in peace, brother, and he had a heck of an arm.
Yeah. And he was a quarterback, and 4 of those seasons I listed, he was one of the quarterbacks on a roster. So talk about a bad quarterback. Tarvaris Jackson was a bad quarterback. As you say, rest in peace, Tarvaris, but you weren't very good as an NFL quarterback, buddy.
Oh, well. That's this week in Vikings land. And what comes after Themes 2?
Theme 3, baby.
Well, hit the button. There we go. And that brings us to Inside the Numbers with Drew Bunting. Welcome to the show, Drewster.
Here we go, Redskins. Oh, did I say Redskins? I always say Redskins because you know what? If a sports team name really bothers you that much, go get counseling. They're still the Redskins. What a great! I must start out saying, I had to say it. It's come on, it's a sports team name.
Hey, but it's true.
It's ridiculous that people can't. Never mind. Different show, different time. Great intro today. Best intro I've ever seen on Two Old Bloggers. If you could filter what you said on that intro monologue into a John Facenda voice thing, you could sell that. That was tremendous, and I have to throw that out there first. Darren, of course, does his homework. Man, that is really good stuff you guys have had so far. My stuff is probably going to be a step down because I do not prepare because I'm not professional. But you guys have done a really great job so far. Couple comments I noticed. About an hour ago, Chevy Chase, it's never too early, okay? It's never too early for the hippie lettuce, all right? I want to point that out. And somebody else made a comment about 15 minutes ago, and I didn't see the name, but it said, KOC picks his offensive coaches much like PJ Fleck. Now, not only is that the best comment I've seen today, but that deserves a prize from my prize vault. So give me your name. I still have the Vikings prize vault for Vikings Report. That is a tremendous comment. I'm sorry I didn't see your name in time, but I saw it. It was on the screen, and I thought it was very, very well said. Again, best people in sports or Viking land or whatever are tuning into this show. I love the comment. Get into reading the comments. Last, before we get going, Lee Corso. I saw you had Lee Corso up there.
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, Lee Corso wanted to fight me. Wanted to fist fight. Yeah, it was I won't get into the details on it, but it was a year. It was on the Tony Bruno show. I was a call-in. Every week I was a call-in guy on the Tony Bruno show with this bong water guy. Well, Tony Bruno, and then he would have special guests call in. Well, I got one of the posts. They gave me one of the posts every week. So the Corso was on there having this segment about how good Alex Smith was. And I'm building some shelves up in my garage. As I'm listening, I'm getting more angry. I'm pounding the nails harder. And I'm going, this guy's an idiot. So I called up and I had my segment. And Corso, by the time I was done saying my piece, told the producer, I want that guy to fly to LA and fight me. And I said, shit, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a pay-per-view or something. I'll fight Corso. Whatever, Alex Smith came into the pros, what was that, 2008 or something?
Yeah.
That was more than that, I feel. Yep.
He was all fired up, not so fast, my friend. And I said, dude, you better take a step back because I will rip you down. You want to fight me? You want to tangle with me? But me and Lee Corso go way back. Enough said. What do we got going this week? Game 13. Seems like I'm talking about the same thing every week. First things first, Vikings are favored by 2 points, point and a half. I don't know. What do you want to make of that? What's the over under 44? It started out at 41 and a half.
Well,
Now
it's
it's 40.
moved.
What is it, Dave? 44?
Right now it's at 44 for the over under. And we are now 1.5 point dogs.
Oh, we're dogs now. I thought it was fair. Okay.
See the graph? I have it documented. We started out
look at that.
as
look at that graph. It looks like schematics
dogs.
It looks like schematics for my hot tub.
Well, that's what it does. 2 point dogs, as everybody was anticipating Brosmer versus Mariota. And then we got on Tuesday, hey, JJ McCarthy's cleared protocol. Hey.
Well, that'll make the needle jump.
JJ, he was symptom free on Tuesday, and then Wednesday he's cleared. He's starting. So we went to we were favored by 2, and then on Thursday we get Jaden Daniels might return. He's practicing.
He's returning, yeah.
And then we got Jaden Daniels is starting. Boom. Now we're we're now 1.5 dogs because of that. But you can see just how much the quarterbacks sway the betting line just in a week. Yeah,
it's a lot of discussion for a 3-8 versus a 4-8 versus a 3-9, isn't it? A lot of odds discussions. But the over under 44. I'm going to go ahead, since the Vikings the last 4 weeks have scored 42 points. I'm going to go ahead and take the under on the 44 this week, since it's taken them a month to get to 44. Including a 0-point game last week, and then a 6-point game before that, Darren? The week before that?
Correct.
That's terrible. They take on the mighty Redskins, Commanders, whatever you want to call them. I call them the Redskins. It'll be the 29th meeting. They played. Vikings are up in the series 15-13. These two teams have met 5 times in the postseason.
There's a tasty tidbit.
3 divisional, 1 wild card, and of course that NFC title game that David loved back when Darren Nelson was playing in '87 with Wade Wilson. What a great ending that was in that game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. 3-9 versus 4-8. Both teams playing for next year. Yes, Daniels will be back. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about him because I think with a shattered elbow or whatever he had, they're going to be a pretty short leash on letting him run free in the secondary. That's where Daniel.
And they've actually dropped. I was listening this morning. They dropped they originally had him at 39 yards rushing on the deal, and they've dropped it to 36 as of yesterday.
Yeah, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anybody's really torched us quarterback-wise running the ball. I know Lamar Jackson didn't. I know Caleb Williams is a big runner. He didn't. So I'm not worried about it. You know what? Daniels, the way he's throwing the ball this year, just let him throw it because he's not really impressed anybody. I'm not worried about him. I'm trusting Flores' defense more than I think Daniels is going to be a difference maker. Listen, guys, Washington is terrible. If the Vikings lose this game, then they're not going to win any more games, including that game in 2 weeks in New York against the Giants. This Sunday, if they don't win this game, they're not winning anymore. So it needs to be a springboard. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be a springboard for the rest of the season, but we're playing out the 5 games to see what we got for next year. See what we got with McCarthy. I'm excited to see how he's going to play, but you look at, I was breaking down the Washington defense, man. It's terrible. It's not really. Washington has lost 7 in a row, okay? And they've only won 1 road game. And I told my wife, hey, Tootses, Redskins have only won 1 road game. And what does she say in the kitchen? I can barely hear. Vikings have only won 1 home game. And I'm going, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks T-Bass for the super chat. He says NFL just flexed this game. It will now be on the Comedy Channel.
Or Hulu. KOC has got, I heard you guys talk about it in the themes. You know how I feel about it. This team is not prepared. They can't. You guys mentioned something about when something goes bad, they fall apart. That's because they're not mentally tough. It's all on the offense. I don't have any problem with the Vikings defense this year at all. I don't have any problem with how they're coached, how they've been playing. They've had some injuries. The one thing I will say that stood out to me is I've watched 5 or 6 Colts games. I miss Cam Bynum. That guy's, with the Colts, he's always around the ball. He's around getting turnovers. He's involved in big tackles and big plays and big passes defensed. And I think I didn't know we'd miss Cam Bynum as much as we did, but I think we miss Cam Bynum a lot. But I don't have any problem with the Minnesota Vikings defense at all this year. They've kept us in games, bend but don't break. Now they've got, you watch that game last week. That has nothing to do with the defense. They had Darnold spitting wind. He didn't know where he was going with the ball. They were getting sacks. They got some turnovers, but you don't do jack shit with it. It doesn't matter. But this year, I have no problem with how their defense is playing, and I'm counting on them to be a big difference tomorrow, Darren, because they are going to have to be the difference. Apparently, the defense has to win every week because we can't score more than 6 points. But KOC's got to have the team more ready to play, more prepared. We all know that. We hear it from them every week. These long filibuster answers about, let's break it down. If you were talking to him about a game of checkers, he would explain it for 45 minutes. Well, checkers, let's see. There's black squares, and then there's the red squares. And dude, just shut up. Let's see something on the field. Have your team ready to frickin' play. For once, have them ready to play. I hear a lot in the press conferences, Darren. I hear a lot of talk. Oh, yeah. I hear a lot of talk about PJ Fleck. That's what Fleck does. Okay. So I take the under this week. Yes. Yes, Chevy Chase. It's never too early, Chevy Chase. You go ahead. You do what needs to go. And you know what? I'm fired up right now. Get Lee Corso on the frickin' phone. I'll fight him right now. Let's get to some statistics, guys. Go down that. Look at the Commander stats. I'll hold the sheet up to prove that I actually did some homework. Commanders, only one team defensively overall in the NFL is worse statistically than the Redskins, and that's the Bengals. They're 32nd. Commanders are 31st, second to last. Minnesota, on the other hand, you look at Minnesota's offensive rankings, 29th overall, 28th in points, 25th in rushing, 29th in passing. They're in the mid to late 20s on every statistic, but you know what? Washington's defense sucks. Just as bad across the board. 31st in passing defense. Come on now. Let McCarthy take all that footwork and all that BS you guys talked about, take it off his plate. Let him go Sugar Bowl versus Alabama. Let him roll out a little bit. Let him run out of the pocket. Let him run. Let him throw. Let him spin behind his back. Do what he does. That's what I'm most excited about seeing this week. But Washington's defense is terrible. This is a good game for him to come back without the leash on him and let him play a little quarterback like he did at Michigan, because he does not look like he did at Michigan because he's being – that's a whole nother story for a whole nother show. Turnovers. Minnesota still last in the league, David. 26 turnovers. Last in the NFL. Cannot win turning the ball over. But Washington is second to last in takeaways, Darren. They only have 7. They only have 7 all year, just as pathetic as us. So hopefully that's a good Easter egg on our part. Flipping it over, Washington offense versus the Vikings defense. Minnesota's 10th overall in the NFL. They're 4-8, and their defense is 10th overall. You don't have to be a frickin' rocket scientist to figure out what the problem of this team is. They have the 10th overall defense, including the 5th best passing defense. 5th best in the league. Out of 32 teams, they got the 5th best passing defense and only allowing 179 points a game. That's inside the numbers, baby. It is not on the defense. Defense is they're pulling their weight. The rushing defense, still 23rd, but I don't know. I think the rushing defense has improved from what I saw earlier, what some of Gainwell was doing. Gainwell was tearing us a new a-hole, some of those guys. But right around the Barkley time, I think the Vikings' run defense has gotten better.
Right, against Detroit. Yep.
And their pass defense, like I said, 5th in the league. The problem with this team isn't the defense. They'll play good again tomorrow. They'll play well enough to win. The Viking defense will play well enough to win. What's the point allowed? They're 18th and 23.4. But, that's you're asking the defense. Vikings defense, I would have to guess, has been on the field a lot more than other NFL teams. It seems like they're always out there. I don't know.
I know they've been almost, 35 to 40 minutes every game.
Yeah, and the snap count's got to be high.
Across the whole season, they've got to be owning that record.
You talk about divisiveness in the locker room. when you give up a 12-play drive for a touchdown, and then your offense goes out there and goes 3 and out, after 6, 7, 8 weeks of that, your defense in the locker room is saying, can you guys please do your friggin' job? Because I'm sick of running out there. It does. It happens. You get a divisiveness between offense. Dave knows it happened when Zimmer was here. The offensive defense had there was a big problem going on with that.
A schism. Yes.
Turnover ratio. Vikings are dead last at -15. That is not good. But the commies are
hearing the odd-shaped ball bounces funny. Yes, it does. But that's not an excuse, folks, for this many turnovers.
Talk about another thing the defense gets angry with. Didn't they sack Darnold and got a turnover, right? They sacked him. It was a turnover, strip sack or whatever.
Dallas Turner.
And the offense comes in. What does the offense do? So the defense is over there going, this is bullshit, man. We can do it. Believe me, they talk about this stuff. They talk about it a lot. It goes, a lot of those barbecues the teams have, defensive barbecue. Harrison Smith has all defensive players over there. Believe me, they're a unit. They stick together. Redskins are a -8. Both teams suck in the turnover department. Probably why these teams have a combined 7-17 record, Darren. 7-17. It's the battle for 7-17 this week. Again, you can't lose to this team. You're not going to win the rest of the year. And they won't. You'll get my prediction in the summary. The Vikings are going to turn it on offensively this week. Key one. Let's get to key one, Dave. Do you have a thing for it? For the love of Tommy Kramer. That's what I have written down. You got the same thing written. We wrote the same thing. The love of Tommy Kramer, one of my favorite Vikings of all time, because he didn't give a shit what people told him about his mechanics. He didn't, I'm going to do it my way, and he did it his way, and he was one of the best quarterbacks this franchise has ever seen, or the NFL's ever seen. Tommy Kramer. Tommy Kramer is legit. For the love of Tommy Kramer, can we get some touchdowns? And I know it bothers him still. I know it bothers him when he's watching the games. I know Tommy's still sitting there with a beer going, the Vikings, get this for inside the numbers. The Vikings have 21 offensive touchdowns all season, including only 4, Darren, in their last 12 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
4 touchdowns offensively in their last 4 quarters. It's not good enough. Not good enough for NFL football, Pee Wee football, whatever your Pop Warner, high school. It's not good enough for any of the level. Flag football, beer league with your buddy who plays for the Jiffy Lube Lions. It's not good enough for that. So last season, after 12 games, the Vikings had 29 offensive touchdowns. Big fall off this year. They finished last season. They finished last season with 47 overall touchdowns, and three weren't offensive. So actually 44 offensive touchdowns, David. 44, which is the number of the great Chuck Foreman. That's how many offensive touchdowns they had last year. Yep, 44. Right now they're sitting at 21. Do the math. How are they going to get to 41 in 5 games offensively?
Hey, I would love to see it.
They are way behind schedule, and we all know what that comes from. And I agree with Darren, what you're saying about KOC. I think he'll be back next year. Mensah, I think Mensah is a numbers guy. I think he needs, who's ever scouting for him is giving him some shit information. He needs to fire the scouting department. But he'll be back too, but he's not a football guy. He's not a football guy. If you're not going to be a football guy, you better have some damn good scouts looking for you, David.
Better have a good football guy who can stand up and say, this is the player we want.
And I understand what Darren's saying about KOC. He coming back, he 14 wins, and then he had 13, whatever, he didn't forget how to coach. This quarterback problem is all he's responsible for it. This is his guy. Mm-hmm. He is responsible. You can't ever look that. You can't look the other way on that. This is his deal. He picked all this shit. This wasn't dropped in his lap like the Zimmer stuff. None of it was. It's his. This is his doing. So there has to be some accountability for that. But we're not going to digress into again, great show, great monologue. I got it taped. Toots is going to run the Facenda software through it. Dave, that was the best I've ever heard. You were going off on that. It was well done.
We're fed up. It's just.
We talk a lot pre-show. We talked about Hope Solo. Mm-hmm. We talked about Rebecca Lobo. A little bit of, we talk about Kay Adam?
No, we didn't.
No.
She snarls when I mention Kay Adams.
And remember, Kay picked us to win the Super Bowl this year.
I don't even care who Kay picks, as long as she picks. Stop the commies run game. Is that what you have written there? You've got to shut it down. The only chance they got is the run game this week. The Commanders' run game. This is the only chance they got. If you look at the way that their team's built, even with Jaden Daniels, it all runs through their rushing attack. Besides, it's the only chance they have at winning the game besides the Viking imploding. The Vikings imploding is another factor because we got to factor that in. No matter how bad another team plays, if you're going to play like the Vikings did offensively last week, they can have all the turnovers they want, and they're still going to win the game as long as they kick a couple field goals. Making mistake after mistake after mistake, sure, that can give you a problem, but I mean,
so you're predicting a Washington 3-0 win?
No, I am not. Man, imagine sitting through that game. You're going to need.
God.
How many bottles of whiskey you got for that, Dave?
Well, I got a couple new ones, but
I'm gonna need whiskey, and I need Chevy Chase's address. Those are the two things I need to watch a 3-0 game between Washington and Minnesota. They are third in the league in rushing, Darren. The Redskins. I did not know that. That was my one shocker looking at the numbers when I had to double check that thing. They are third. What's the number? They are third in rushing with 139 yards a game. So, and that's really their 22nd in passing. So they're going to need to run the ball. They got like 3 or 4 backs. They run a committee system over there. Krosky, Merrick, and
Rodriguez is in there.
Rachel McNichols. Didn't mention the women today. Got to mention her. Third in the NFL in rushing. If they shut down the rushing attack, they're going to help themselves a lot more to keeping the points off the board for the Washington football team. So that's probably the number one thing they got to look for, because you look at the past games for the Redskins, if they can't run it, they don't do anything. They did play. Did you see the game against Denver?
Yes.
They played very well in that game.
They
played with enough intensity to beat us. Intensity-wise, they were really focused in on winning that game against Denver, and they almost pulled it off. So the Vikings got to be ready for a team. They're 3-9. They've lost 7 straight. But they got Dan Quinn and Kingsbury, whatever the offensive coordinator. They're not going to fold on you. They're going to come at you attacking, with everything they got. So they almost won that game against Denver. That was a fun game to watch, which I don't get to watch a lot of fun football between Michigan and Minnesota. Wolverines, Vikings last week, 0 touchdowns. I'm ready for some touchdowns, and I think I'm going to get it this week. Key 3, home Warriors, fast start. Can we get a fast start, Darren? Can the Vikings jump out to a big fast start? Well-focused, disciplined, high intensity, feeding off the crowd. Can they?
No.
For once, protect your house. Give your fans something to cheer about, for God's sakes. The Commanders are not a good road team. They're 1-5, but we've only won 1 home game, so they only average 19 points inside the numbers on the road. 19 points shouldn't be enough to win a football game.
No, shouldn't.
But if you scored 6 the last 2 weeks, it probably is enough to win a football game. But that's where it's going to change this week. Washington, if you talk to some of the podcasters over there with Washington, the ones that actually know what they're talking about, they are slow starters on the road. Notoriously slow starters on the road. That's where you got to get them. And teams have been getting it by getting up on leads, and they're slow in the first quarter. Vikings have been slow in the first quarter, but this is an area they can jump on them, and I think they will tomorrow. I think the Vikings score the first time they have the football, whether it's whoever wins the toss and defers or whatever. I think the Vikings are going to take it down and score, because Washington, look back on their opening drives of the season. They sleepwalk through the first quarter. Get them into an uncomfortable position. I think that's possible. Injuries, Daniel's coming back. I got a little spot on that. Noah Brown, the wide receiver's coming back. They got McLaurin back there. But the bottom line is, with the injuries, guys, when you got 3-9 against 4-6, does it really matter who's injured anymore? Does it really? Come on. It doesn't. I mean, look, you got question marks there next to Darrisaw and Jackson. We got to get one of those guys to play, at least one of them to
Both
play
of
out of
them.
those two. Ty Chandler is witness protection. I don't even know why his name's up there. I've never seen him play the whole year.
He was on IR. He's eligible to return. We'll find out probably later today if they do some roster moving, if he's going to return or not. If there's nothing by today, he will not play tomorrow.
Yeah,
I feel confident that Darrisaw will play tomorrow unless something happens in the warm up.
Good.
But will he finish the game? That is the question.
Noah Brown, Dave, and Bobby Wagner have both been cleared to play. So neither team is really missing a lot of guys. They're missing a couple each, but like I said, 4-8 versus 3-9. You're just playing it. You're playing it out to see what can happen. It's going to be a carbon copy of these previews every week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I talk about the same thing the Vikings need to do, what they need to do, how they need to do it, opposition, review, position group, this, offense, defense, and the Vikings never do anything. They start 3 and out. They punt it. It's the same thing every week. It's got to change, and I hope it does. It's mostly Keystone Cops this year, Darren. When you're watching the Vikings, it's a highlight reel of Keystone Cop stuff. Same strategy summary every week. But I think this week it's going to be different because they are going to let JJ needs to let him play like he wants to play. McCarthy and Jefferson get on the page this week. I think they have a touchdown. I think he's going to be 100+ this week, Justin Jefferson. I think this is going to be the week when the new controversy starts. Oh, McCarthy, this has been a problem with KOC. Dave, you know it rolls. That's how it rolls in this league. You go from one blame pie to the next blame pie chart the next week. But I think this week, I have the Vikings getting at least 28 points, 28 to 30 points. Call me crazy. I am not on hippie lettuce. I'm not hippie lettuce right now. Right now, I am sober. I'm not drinking anything. I think the Vikings get some points this week and give the fans who's only enjoyed one home win, give them something to cheer about because I don't know. I just feel like this has got to be it, Darren. It's got to turn around this week. They know I've been yelling for McCarthy to take the bullshit away out of his head and let him just play his game. I've been saying that for two months, Dave. I was saying that back in September, man. You talk about here's your footwork. Here's your arm angle. Oh, here's your arm angle in Mandarin. This is what it looks like in Mandarin. Here's your arm angles. We do algebraic breakdown and combine that with your foot and look at the
feet, match the eyes, match the head. Yeah.
And, the atmosphere pressure. We got the barometric pressure in the air. This is where I want you to throw it when the barometric pressure is 61.
When the air conditioner turns on in U.S. Bank Stadium and causes a slight breeze.
Let him be himself for the next month or so. If he doesn't do anything, throw him on the scrap heap, whatever you want to do with him. But JJ is allowed this to get. By the way, the best part of this show has been that McCown thing you had. That was tremendous stuff. That's why I tune into Tool Bloggers, because you and Darren give me information, Dave, that I don't see anywhere else. I never thought of that. And you research it back to the Bryce Young stuff with the McCown. It was just brilliant. It was a brilliant segment for you to talk about. Very, very good. And you should get, between that and your monologue, you get a gold star today. You know what happens when you get 50 gold stars?
I get a bottle of whiskey.
You get to have a bottle of whiskey and drinks with Hope Solo.
Oh,
I'm gonna tell you, you better be careful with Hope Solo because she is one crazy gal. I think the Vikings are going to get it done this week. I know I say that every week. I look at the Redskins defense and it's just they played really inspired ball against Denver. I mean, they left it all out there in that game. They left it all out there in that game against Denver, Darren. But when teams do that, I see them come back the next week and just there's nothing. I've seen teams play so intense, just go all out, and then the next week they don't have any. We did it against the Bills when Josh Allen was a rookie. Remember, it was like week 3 or week 4. The previous week we played like Super Bowl champions. And then we went into the Buffalo game at home. We were 16-point favorites, and we lost that game to Josh Allen. It was when he was a rookie. I don't know exactly. It was early in the season, but they came in all jacked up like we're the best, and it can happen. And what I saw when Washington played their ass off, it's hard to do that consecutive time. That's the last time they played, right? That was last week.
Yes, yeah, that was their last game.
It's hard to carry that intensity week to week to week in sports, whether you're playing bass on stage from show to show. Intensity is like a roller coaster, high and low, high and low. And if you're going to go out with Hope Solo, Dave, you better have your intensity on a high meter. She ain't playing around. That's it. That's all I got. I think the Vikings win this game. I think they're about 10 points better. Maybe a few points. If they get 28, I don't see the Skins getting in the 20s. So I kind of feel right now we're all going to be making posts at halftime going, how the Vikings have 17 points, Darren. You're going to be sending me something on Facebook that says, Drew, how do we have 17 points at halftime right now? It's a miracle. But I think it's going to happen this week. I feel good about this game this week. I do.
Or we've scored 28.
Am I crazy to say if they lose this game, they're not winning the rest of the year? Is that nuts? Or is that
no? That's a very reasonable take. I would agree with you. I don't. Yeah, if they can't win here, and the offense is as limp as it's been several last weeks, where they can only score 10 points or 6 points or 13 points, something that you can't win football games with. They're not going to go into New York and beat the Giants with Jackson Dart running around. No, they're not, and they're not going to win any of the other.
They have any coaches?
Not very few. Yeah,
I feel right now at KOC's kind of got that. Remember when Jaron Hall got hurt in Atlanta, and Dobbs got put in, and Kevin O'Connell just, I don't know what to tell you. We have no time to prep you for a game plan. Just do what you do. I think KOC's to that level right now. I see him in his pressers. He's kind of like not giving up, but kind of throwing caution to the wind, saying just do whatever you want to do. We're 4-8. And that Dobbs game, Dobbs was really good that game. Made a couple early mistakes when he got in there, but he was fantastic. Running the ball, passing the ball. But as the weeks wore on and KOC started putting the footwork things into his head, he became shitty. But this is what this reminds me of this week was that first game with Dobbs when KOC said, I have no game plan. Just play quarterback. That's what I want to see him do with J.J. McCarthy because that's what McCarthy does. That's been his whole career. You know, and Harbaugh used to shake his head at press conferences saying, maybe you don't like him rolling out and throwing it, but I don't let him throw much anyway. But when he does, he gets the 3rd and 8. He gets the 4th and 8. He always is there when I need a big play. He always is there when I need a big play. Let him just play. And like I said, I may be wrong, maybe just as crappy, but I think it's the last-ditch effort to what – you cannot overcoach him like this. You can't. And I'm glad you talked about McCown because that might be the extra voice in the ear that he doesn't need, man.
That's screwing him up.
He is a team player all the way, and he probably feels shitty right now. He looks in that locker room like everybody looks at him with an eyebrow raised. And I know that bothers him. That bothers McCarthy because he's never been that guy, the point of the blame. So he
this
has
is his worst season of his life.
Well, he has every right to step in that office and say, you guys might like my footwork and my arm angle and my this and 17 reads I got to make and doing all this other crap, but that's not me. So if we're going to keep coaching me like this, I'm going to fail. He doesn't want to look like that to his teammates. He wants to rally with his teammates. And another problem that the Vikings do, they start these games with these wide screens, Darren. They throw these screen passes with no blocking. And I'm watching and I'm laughing going, when is that play ever going to work? How many times do you guys say that in the game? When the Vikings run a play, how many times do you either say to your friend or in your head or to your wife, how is that going to work? How is throwing that ball out there with no blocking and 4 guys tackle?
Well, the receiver's got to make the first guy miss. I'm so tired of hearing that.
The
Put
Vikings
run out there.
You want to talk about your play calling or what they're not executing? It's not KOC. It's the execution. Fine. You want to have that argument? I see a ton of plays the Vikings are working, Darren, where the only way that they're going to execute the plays if the guy magically X-Files rises himself 40 feet off the ground, floats all the way to the end zone, and then lowers himself. They run a lot of plays with no chance. You do it tomorrow. You watch. You write. Get a piece of paper and write down. Label the top of it. How the hell was this ever going to work? You do it. You're going to have about 8-10 plays on there and go, what? They run these plays. There's these wide out wide flare screens and they throw it out there, and like the tight end or something, and it has no chance of working. Who designs plays that have no chance of working? I know we sail balls over people's heads and they make remedial mistakes, but look at some of these play calls. They have no chance of working. And it angers me to watch because all you're doing is wasting it down. Down waster. KOC is a down waster a lot of times. You want to bitch about the execution, give them plays that you can execute. To hell with that screen to ham out the flat. To hell with it.
Whatever you do, don't think you need to pull one of your tricks out of the bag that never work.
Yes. Yes. On that note, I am done. Like and subscribe to this show because it's the best show on the internet. It's absolutely by far the best show on the internet. And I know I didn't remember your name earlier, but I like the PJ Fleck comment. I loved all the comments in here. You guys do a great job. Vikings.
Any last
They're going to win.
Darren?
Not at all. Drew said it all for us.
All right. What do we say,
Stop
gentlemen?
running dumb plays. Stop.
We also say SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Darren and Dave, thank you for watching this episode of Two Old Bloggers. We look forward to seeing you on every show on the new Vikings First and SKOL. You can find our podcasts as part of the Fans First Sports Network. Sports takes for the fan, from the fan. SKOL, everybody!